So jumping in, first one that is this one is going to be a new evaluation is officer roles. And yes, we have always had and looked at and paid attention to officer roles, but they were not previously calculated in CMP. What we know, again, as I had mentioned earlier, is that a lot of our chapters are having double up roles, even though they do have individuals that can serve in roles. We do recognize that there are some individuals that may be available that may not serve as the best officers because they don't have the right skill set, the information, or the drive, or the time to fill that roles. So we do have some leeway. Again, keep in mind that we're really looking for our chapters to hit that strong health area. And so the goal here is for our chapters to really have their officer roles filled by different individuals. Um, we really are trying to not burn out the one or two that are doing all of the things. And so, again, this is kind of one of those accountability measures. And so, to hit that strong health measure, as long as the officers don't have any more than two people that are doubling up, or excuse me, two roles that are doubled up, then they're going to be sitting in that strong health. Again, that's to account for, we know that some of our chapters are smaller, that their members don't all have the opportunity or time to do that. So we are taking that into consideration. Um, and this is simply maintaining the officer updates. When there's a new election, chapters should be updating their officers so that they get those introductory pieces. And how CMP is doing it is looking at this, is it is looking at the names in the roles. And if they are seeing either vacant or they are seeing somebody that is in a couple of different places, it is counting that first in the succession, the higher in the succession, as their first unique role, and then seeing anybody further doubled up. I'm random thing. If we happen to have a student whose name happens to be office vacant, I'm not sure what that's going to look like. So if anybody does come across a student whose name is office vacant, let us know, and we'll address that as needed. Um, just so that you are aware on how to make some of these officer updates in New Hub. It's going to look similar to what we have had in the past, or excuse me, the process is similar to what we have had in the past. It's just going to look a little bit different in the forms and the pieces. So you're going to log in for into that members module as well. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. You're going to go into the officers module, that officers button, and once you click on that, you're going to find the officer that needs to replace, and you should see that replace officer. Um, I, and once you click on that, it'll give you the option to search for an individual and where and when you want to make that change. For the most part, it will be that day that they are making the change, and then they'll just complete the officer replacement. Okay. Going to jump now into the next piece that is a new evaluation, and that's the officer training. We've had our officer training modules for about 5, maybe 6 years now, and we have not required them in CMP, as we have, while they are a great introduction, it was not a policy for them to for our students to complete them. We also weren't looking to just keep adding on to the checkboxes for them. And so where they come into play here in new CMP, again, as this is a tool to evaluate a chapter's health, having that introduction to an officer role, we do believe is beneficial in maintaining a chapter's health. And so what CMP is looking for here is for all of the officers to be holding, or excuse me, to have reviewed that officer training module for the office that they are holding. And so this does not look at duplicates, things like that. So, if Jasmine is holding VP professional activities and VPCS, and she's only taken VP professional activities module, it is only counting that she has taken that. She would, for that the chapter to have full credit, she will have had to look at both, as her name is in that officer role for both. Mike, I see you've unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
If I am in the same office for multiple years, do I have to take the training every single year?
Great question. The answer to that, to my knowledge, is no.
Heh.
If as long as you have taken the training for the office that you currently sit in, the chapter is being credited for that. So that's a great lead into another piece to this, is that if you have super pledge, which we love super pledges, that knows that they want to be an officer someday, or a super new initiate that knows they want to be an officer someday, and they go through and they review every single officer module before they're even in office, the system knows that they have taken it. And if they ever get to elected to any of the offices, they will already have been credited to have taken that officer module. We will always encourage them to review it again, as a refresher, but they are already credited if they have taken it at any point. Um, uh, Tim, thank you for that. I do mean brother. Yes, I do not believe that pledges have access to those officer modules. I could be incorrect. I don't know that. But it is also not secretive information. So if they do have access to it, it's just additional information for them. But absolutely, as soon as they become an initiated member, they do have access to those. Um, the strong health indicator here is at least 8 of those officers have completed those modules for the office for that they have been in. If I am sitting in the president officer role, and I have not completed that one, but I have completed the vice president for scholarship and awards, I am not credited for having completed the officer module for the office that I am sitting in. Okay, so that's how the trade-off works there.